Hello and welcome back to Chai and Biscuits. I'm here with Sandy and Abhishek, and we're continuing the review of the transfer window for the Big Six. After discussing City, Liverpool, and Spurs last time, we're going to be talking about Chelsea, United, and Arsenal today. And if we have the time, we're going to do some predictions as well. They were somewhere between trying to catch up to the top two and also trying to keep out of reach of Spurs and Arsenal. Most of the summer was spent trying to get a new owner first. What do you think they needed to do, and how did they do that?
Well, Rohit, I think, like you said, they had trouble outside the field, but the Blues, with the new owners, have added two pretty good world-class players, I would say, in Koulibaly and Raheem Sterling. They're proven winners with the previous teams, and they should be able to help Chelsea maintain their status as a Champions League club. They did get Cucurella from Brighton. It was, I would say, £60 million is a bit too much for Cucurella, but it's a really good cover for Chilwell, who has been a little injury prone in his Chelsea career till now. Um, I think Chelsea kind of lost some of their transfer targets to Barcelona and Rafinha, Koundé, um, even Lewandowski and Delete, and they went probably did. I'm not sure of the concrete interest on Lewandowski, but they did get Aubameyang from Barcelona on deadline day, which should be able to help them in the goals department. Because if we look at the previous 6 games, Chelsea have been able to score only, I would say, 8 goals, which should be more because of the chances they are creating and the quality of players they have. Yeah, in all the other positions in the field. So with with Lukaku leaving and not proving the way he should have in his last season, and Chelsea missing the likes of Tammy Abraham, I feel Aubameyang was a panic buy, but a buy that they needed. A position that was needed to be reinforced. Um, and also midfield. I don't think they went for a good name in the midfield, but they did get Dennis Zakaria on loan. um all in all, I would say they've had defenders leave, like really good players like Rudiger and Rudiger to Real Madrid and Christensen to Barcelona. So they had to reinforce in the department, and they did well. But I feel like they have had a, like a, I would say, 6 on 10 window, because they really needed to invest some of that money in midfield as well, because I feel that's where they're lacking right now, with with Jorginho and Kovacic being the only proper starters, and Kante out injured. So all in all, I would say I would rate it 6 on 10.
Right. Something that you said was about their defense because they lost a lot of players for many different reasons,
Right.
and they were one of the best defensive teams last year. And but they lost two starting players in Rudiger and Christensen. And they've also sort of lost Kante because he's been more injury prone recently. Do you think they'll be able to keep up that defensive news that they were able to do last season? Because they have a lot of new players coming in.
I think even this season, when they started out, they were pretty good defensively, I would say. But with the new players coming in, like you said, the system, they'll have a hard time to adjust with Tuchel's demands of how a player should play now. They should play the passes and all. They will definitely have a hard time. Even Fofana, who was brought in, I would say had a pretty average start to his Chelsea career, but we would have to see how Graham Potter starts the team. But I think with the quality that they have in the squad, they should be able to probably play not like last season, but play better, because the players that they were able to replace, like I'm not saying Rudiger is irreplaceable, but I'm saying the players like they got, like Koulibaly with a lot of experience, and Fofana is a new young defender. They've got a good investment going in for the future. So all depends on how Potter sets up the system, sets up the players in the proper squad in the system.
Yep. Speaking about obviously the biggest change that happened at Chelsea recently, that Tuchel got sacked and them getting Graham Potter, and we know that Chelsea got players on based on Tuchel's wish and how he wanted to build the team. Do you think what do you think about Graham Potter in general, and do you think these players will can he adapt with the current set of players that he has?
I think Graham Potter is a very intelligent coach. When he didn't get his chance in Premier League, he went to Swedish league and he proved it there, and then he came back, and then he proved it. He was proving it in Brighton as well. He has a good, I would say, good assistant managers and players or backroom staff that he has around him to help him, put a best team out there on the field. And I think he brought them along with Chelsea as well. And with Todd Bowley, he is looking at Graham Potter as someone who will, give somebody who will give chances to youth as well, because I think that was one of the complaints that have come out in the recent reports, that there was a, I would say, disagreement, because Tuchel didn't give many chances to the youth, and would always look to play, with his signings, or the expensive players more. So I think in a way, Potter would come in and would try to, invest in the future and play more young players, and have a really good team that is backed by their academy. I think that's what the club is heading towards.
Yeah, I think we can't escape the fact that Graham Potter was signed very recently. We've only heard about the news few days ago, so we don't really know what we're going to get from him in a Chelsea team.
That's
I
true.
remember, as you said, Ostersund. Yeah, with Ostersund, he beat Arsenal at the Emirates, I think 2-1, and yeah, yeah, Arsenal went through on aggregate, but yeah, I think he's done really well at Brighton. I One of the things that he is known for is his ability to adapt to the situation. Do you think that's something that he can do with this Chelsea team?
I think yes. Tuchel himself, had different position. I mean, formations that he would play. And since like you said, there are a lot of new players. I think around 4 or 5 new players that have come in, and also Broha from the academy. So I think there are a lot of new players, and with this, gap, or I would say blank game week, Potter has kind of like a mini preseason to see, what works, what doesn't work, and he'll probably have a, team ready for the fixture next week. I think it's the thing here, the variable here is, we need to give him time, because he likes to work, and take his time, and I think it will come into the, picture. He, like you said, he beat Arsenal in Emirates. I think we should take that, and consider that he will be doing well in the rest of the games as well, because he has been really doing really well for Brighton as well.
Yep, and this season he bet Manchester United at Old Trafford too. So, and he's known for changing his tactics during the game. So, maybe that experience can help him in adapting to the situations. But as Rohit said, it is all new. We cannot. It just happened a few days ago, and we cannot predict what is going to happen.
Yeah,
Yeah. Uh,
yeah.
so speaking about what can happen, what would have happened. Uh, so we know that Aubameyang didn't have a great season at Arsenal. He did not perform well, and before he left to Barcelona, I mean, at least the team was not doing that great before he left to Barcelona. He had a very good second half of the season in Barcelona, and we know that uh, the owner at Chelsea wanted Ronaldo as a striker, at least from the media reports that we are seeing. So, and based on the experience, since Aubameyang is did not have that great of an experience with Premier League, uh, do you think they should have gone for Ronaldo? He scored 24 goals last season, and he was based on the reports, he was willing to come. So, uh, what do you think might have
Yeah,
happened? Yep.
I think Ronaldo would have fit in like a glove, to be honest, because he's a monster in the D, in the penalty box, and I think Chelsea, with the system the way Tuchel used to play, they would create a lot of quality chances, with their wing backs high up the field, for crosses and all, which Ronaldo is really good at. Creating those half spaces around the box, selling a dummy to the defenders at the last moment to create the space. So I think he would have really fit in like really well. But I think there is another aspect to it as where he would want to start every game, which I think, and there are some dressing room riffs and all that might have come. So I think Tuchel kind of went against it, and also the fact that Tuchel managed Aubameyang before, and Aubameyang had his best season with Tuchel when he was in Dortmund, kind of played into that fact as well. That they went for Aubameyang. Also, Aubameyang did have a really good, impact in Premier League. It just was his last after he signed the new contract with Arsenal, and that he started to fade away and not put away his chances like he used to do before. And the kind of system that Tuchel used to play, Aubameyang would also fit in because Aubameyang is really good in and deadly in the D, in the penalty box. He scores a lot of goals that way. So I guess going for Aubameyang was a good idea at the time, but after Tuchel got fired, I feel in hindsight, Ronaldo would have been better, and I think Potter would have loved Ronaldo in his team right now.
Yeah, but that comes back to the question that do they have enough goals in the team? Because last season they scored about around 75 goals, which was the third highest, but they also had the highest number of draws in the top eight, I think. So that shows that most of the goals that they scored were in the fewer games, but when they couldn't score, they struggled, and that usually ended up in a draw. Do you think they have goals in this team with Sterling and Aubameyang? And do you think that mostly they relied on Mount and Reece James last season?
Yeah, that's right.
Do you think that, yeah,
Mount was the
do you
only.
think they can still rely on them this season?
Mount didn't start the season like he would have this season. I feel, but I think he's gonna click in once Potter's system gets fixed, and we understand how it's gonna work. But like I think last season should not be an indicator as much because uh, last season, if you remember, there was a lot of injuries and COVID happened, and Havertz was out for long. I think Conte was out as well. So there were a lot of people who were in and out, and it kind of impacted the flow of Chelsea's matches as well. um, but they were able to pull through because their system was really good and was working. Reece James was also firing, and I think this season, with Sterling, they have a really good attacking player who's proven in Premier League, who after coming from Manchester City has that winning mentality. Having won the Premier League so many times, I think 3 times. So I think he's a really good attacking player. He knows the how to score goals as well, and knows to be in the right position. Aubameyang gives you that killer instinct in front of the goal. If he can get that half a season form that he had with Barcelona, I feel Chelsea can really compete for top four and have and score goals. Yeah,
Yeah, talking about Barcelona, they signed Cucurella. I think you might have known him better because he's a La Masia product. And
yeah.
how do you rate him as a signing? And right now, because Graham Potter also is there, he worked with him at Brighton. Uh, do you think there is an added advantage?
Of course, I think Cucurella is an excellent player. He drives forward, and coming from Barcelona, playing high up the pitch, that's something he is trained to do. And he was doing with Potter as well last year. He was a player of the year with when Potter was in charge for Brighton. So I think as a manager, when you come in and you see Cucurella as a player, I think you know his strengths and weaknesses, and you can get the best out of them. So yeah, of course, it's a great signing. It's just that the amount that they paid was a bit too much. I feel 60 million pounds. I think it's a bit too much for a player, but I think he can be an excellent cover for Ben Chilwell. Uh, so Chelsea is really stocked, in both the wing back positions. They have really good players, and I feel it's going to be a good signing. The investment is going to pay back really well for Chelsea.
Mhm. Yeah, you just mentioned that they kind of overspent on Kukureya, and they also spent we forgot but 80 million on Fofana. So uh, uh, they kind of overspent this window, highest spent in club in top six. So it's all do you think it's because of the new ownership? How do you analyze their business till now, and is it more about proving themselves, or did they over that is one of the reasons why they overpaid for the players, or what do you think about the new ownership?
I think it's a twofold answer. The new ownership also, wants to come in and make a statement. And the thing is, after Todd and the Clear Lake Consortium took over Chelsea, a few of the mainstays like Marina and Peter Sheck, they left the club. So Todd had to take up an interim director of football role. Um, they that's why I think Todd was getting, I would say, outbidded by Barcelona or something. Other targets were also, Chelsea couldn't get them because I think since he was new, he was getting a taste of the cutthroat European market, which is very harsh. I think that's why some of the players Chelsea had to overpay to get them, but all of the signings have been pretty good. They're really young signings, except Koulibaly. But Koulibaly is a good signing for the future as well because he's like 31 and he'll be 31, I think, and there's good investment as well for the back, for the center back. And also, uh, the club is going towards a new direction in terms of uh, how it wants to play. So I guess that's why the new owners are investing in young players.
You rated the window 6 on 10. Do you think that it's mostly because it's new ownership? Still trying to understand what the whole system of buying football players is, because they lost not just the owners, they also lost the team behind it. That could be the reason why they had to overspend, and they also lost a lot of players. So is that the reason it was 6 on 10? Do you think they could have done more?
Yeah, I think that's part of the reason why I rated 6 on 10, because they had to overpay on some of the players. Uh, I mean, we know that they have the money, but because of lack of the proper football director or the team behind it, you know, uh, not having Marina or Shaq, and Todd having to take up the role of interim football director, kind of made it hard and for him to negotiate and get a good price on the player. But they ended up getting good players. I just wished that they invested a bit on midfielders as well. At the last minute, they had to go for Dennis Zakaria, because they felt, since Conte was injured and they had not much depth in the midfield area or quality, I would say. I wish they had gone for some marquee signing in the midfield area as well, to boost their midfield. Um, I think that's one area I feel that they lacked, and that's why my rating was on 6 on 10. And also, going for Aubameyang at the last moment, on deadline day, was not something I was expecting from Chelsea. I mean, I knew that they needed a reliable goal scorer, but I wish they had, looked for a reliable goal scorer from the beginning of the summer transfer window instead of the deadline day. All in all, I mean, it was a good window, but yeah, that's one of the few of the reasons why it's 6 on 10. From losing 3 games in a row last season to winning 5 games in a row this season, Arsenal under Arteta are a young group and a club on a rise who right now look to be the club challenging for top four. And if things go well, the big two for the league title. Rohit, as a long-time Arsenal fan, I would love to hear from you how and what Arsenal needed to do this transfer window.
I think what they needed to do after last season was try to improve the squad depth, because last season I think they missed out on top four by just a few points, and that's because they didn't have enough players, quality players, especially at striking and in midfield. And they went and got that with Gabriel Jesus. And I think with Zinchenko, they were able to get someone who can fill in at left back when Tierney is injured, which he has been ever since he came to Arsenal. And last season, they relied a lot on Tomiyasu at right back and left back and centre back. So I think with Saliba back, that's something that helps with the squad depth as well. And with they have more options now in the forward departments with both Vieira and Marquinhos. So I think that'll help them um, provide new options, because they relied on these four players a lot last season: Martinelli, Saka, Smith Rowe, and Enketea. And all of them are too young to be relying on them for the whole season. So with these players, I think they have a really good chance at top four, especially with Jesus, the start that he had to this season. That a really good start, not as good as obviously Haaland, but I think after Haaland, he's been one of the best players in the Premier League this season, and I think that they've done really well. I'm not sure how well they can push on to the title. They're top of the league right now, but they've also lost the game at Old Trafford. So you don't really know if they can sustain the push that they've had uh, until now.
Mm-hmm. And you mentioned the loss about Old Trafford, and when I watched that match, I noticed one glaring issue in the middle of the park. That was the defensive mid position. You think Partey's injury record and him missing the game in Old Trafford, kind of played into that loss? Do you think they have enough cover if Partey gets injured, or do you think you should have in the summer window you should have gone big for somebody, or probably gotten somebody at least as a cover for Thomas Partey?
They should have, maybe, because in that position they have only Partey, Xhaka, and Lokonga, and I don't know if you can rely on Lokonga for long periods of the season. And I don't think you can rely on Xhaka either, because you don't want to go back to 2018 and 19, where we relied on Xhaka as the only holding midfielder. And he's done really well as a box to box midfielder this season. And I think that maybe with both El Neni and Partey injured, you had to go. They tried to go for Douglas Lewis. So I think either you hope that Partey stays fit for the whole season, or you have to develop Lokonga in such a way that he steps up and fills in the role whenever required. That's the reason they were able to give El Neni a 1 year extension, I think. They don't want to rely on, most of these players are old, considering the rest of the squad. Most of these players are old. You want someone uh, who can fill the role but still in prime, like maybe around 25. Lokonga is still around 22, 23, so I don't know if you can rely on him for the whole season.
Yep. Speaking about that players and also some mentality wise. Manchester United game at Old Trafford was their, I think, the first big test. They played Crystal Palace away, but out of the top six, I think that is their first game this season, which they lost 3-1. But I also saw that Arsenal played really well in terms of creating the chances, and as a team they were much better than last season. And you see that Arteta's revolution is kicking in, and you see players performing, and you see a lot of similarities to Pep Guardiola's system. So, but again, they lost at Old Trafford, which is the old, long-suffering Arsenal. So, do you think they will be different this season? How do you analyze this squad compared to the seasons where they were performing but still not able to achieve the results they want?
I agree with what you said about last season because even last season they struggled when, especially in the big games with a lot of anticipation. Because, for example, last season when Carrick was in charge, they still lost at Old Trafford. And I don't think that was because of how they played, because they play really well in other games, but when they come up against an opposition that can play strong and the crowd is really up for it, for example, Old Trafford last season and White Hart Lane last season and St James Park last season, and especially with Everton, I think these games when they face someone who's really strong, really intense in their pressing, I think they struggle. That's something that you can expect from a young team, and maybe they don't really have someone that can really take the game on their own and win the game for them. Maybe that's what they're expecting from Jesus, but compared to the seasons where they really played well and didn't really affect the scoreline, especially against the top six, I think they're better this season, especially since Arteta came, they've done better. But it's still a very young team, so you can't really say that they will do well. But I think with the experience they've gained, they can perform better, and I think it will take time to get to a place where they're better placed to beat other top six teams.
Yeah, I think so too. You mentioned the other signings like Jesus and Zinchenko, but there's one signing that hasn't been talked much about, and I feel could be an underrated signing of this window. It's Fabio Vieira. Uh, can you tell us a bit about the player and how well he can, how his impact could be, where could he play possibly, and what can we expect from him in this season?
Yeah, I think the reason he's not talked about so much is because it was so out of the blue. The signing itself, no, none of the media reported it, and he was signed within a few days. And when he signed, he had an injury from last season. I think an ankle injury that he was carrying, so he couldn't even play in the preseason. So we didn't really see much of him. While we still saw Marquinhos play a couple of games, I think he's someone who can play in multiple positions. That's something that Arteta likes. So he did the same thing with Jesus, with Zinchenko, and Marquinhos. So I think the fact that Vieira can play as a number eight and as a winger uh, really helps the team. But where he excels at, I think, is his ability to give balls into the box. And this is something that obviously um, Trent does really well. De Bruyne does really well. I think that's something that Arsenal needed more than wanted, because there's no one in the team that can do that. Odegaard is more on the ground through ball player, and he's more a metronome, making the play, small passes. And there are times where Odegaard does give through balls, which are amazing, but I don't think they're um, as line breaking as Vieira has done for Porto, which is what we've seen from the uh, videos of him playing at Porto, and he has had a lot of assists, even though he came into the first team only in January. I think he came from the under 21s, and he was able to perform well, and he got about 10 plus assists, and he played well even on his debut at Old Trafford, if you guys remember.
Yeah, yeah. I think Arteta kind of wants his eights to be dynamic, get into the box and score some goals, and it's kind of reminds me of that miss that Odegaard had in Old Trafford, which he could have scored. Do you think if Fabio Vieira were in that position, he would have been able to convert those chances? Is he a good goal scorer? You would say, like coming in from deep, and
Um,
or do you think he's more of a
I don't
creative player who assists?
I don't think he's going to replace Odegaard first. So,
Mm-hmm.
because firstly, Odegaard is the captain, and Odegaard, I think you need Odegaard because he played really well with Saka together, But that's something that Saka struggles with as well because um, Sa- Odegaard does not overlap. Saka needs someone who overlaps because you're relying on Saka to do a lot of overlapping, like going both towards the wing and coming in and trying to shoot. But Odegaard does not do that. But I think with Vieira, he has scored a few goals, but he's still very young, so we haven't really seen much of him. And he had one shot, I think it was on the volley, and he tried to score, but it went over. I was really hoping that would go in. But I think that there are, as long as we create enough chances, there will be goals to score for everybody. But if you keep missing them like Odegaard did, then I think there's something that we might struggle with this season. So it has to be goals from all over the pitch. It can't be
Yeah,
we can't be relying on Jesus, we can't be relying on Saka or Martinelli. I think, like you said, the team has to be dynamic. There has to be goals from midfield, which we didn't really have last season, except for Odegaard,
yeah,
of course.
true.
Yeah. So speaking about underrated signings, I think one player that surprised us, I think it even surprised you, Rohit, was Marquinhos' Europa League performance. Uh, so, what do we know about him? Do you think he'll be a regular first team player, contributing, or he's very young? He's 18 years old. So, uh, how did you like his performance, and do you think he can be a starter?
Yeah, I think when Arsenal signed Marquinhos, you didn't really expect him to get into the first team because Arsenal were also trying for Rafinha, if you remember. So uh, we understood that to mean that you were looking for Saka's backup. But Marquinhos is very young, unproven, so I didn't think that he would get into the first team right away. And he played a few games in preseason, and he played quite well. But you would expect that of someone playing against the smaller teams in preseason. So it was really nice to see that he got a chance to start in Europa League and for Saka to get a rest, obviously. I think that he did really well. Something that you can expect from him is do both hug the touchline as well as cross in with his left foot, which um, Saka does, but I don't think he does enough of. But Marquinhos did that a lot during the game in Europa League, and there were chances that he created really well, really good chances that Arsenal missed. Like Martinelli missed I think he missed a header right in front of the goal. I think as long as you're creating chances, like I said, it's still good enough. And that as to see that Marquinhos is doing that even on his debut is really great, and he both scored and assisted. So that's really good to see for someone starting his first game in Europe.
Yep.
Yeah, I agree. I think from moving from the signings, I want to speak about Arteta's system and the squad in general. I've seen few of the matches. They're really pressing well. They're going into the opposition's half to even press, and have the ball, dominate with the ball. But when I see second half or at the end of the second half, or I would say quarter match is gone, that pressing energy, is gone, or they don't press as much as they do, which is expected because the season has just started. But do you think, since this is a new team and a young team, Arteta will be able to have the same standards throughout the match, and probably have the same energy against the big six teams?
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that Arsenal start really well, but they don't really sustain that for the whole game, especially in the second half. I think they lose that. And I think it might be because, one, it's a young team, like you said, and when they already have a lead, they're trying to keep that lead. They're scared of losing that lead. Another reason is I think they don't really have a player that can keep the ball and just keep possession. For example, like Fabinho does with Liverpool, like Jorginho does with Chelsea, and Rodri does with City. I don't think Partey does that. He does more of vertical passing. He tries to go for the uh, long balls. I don't think he's someone who's a metronome. Um, I think that's something that you have to instill in a player, but I think he might be too old for that. So that's another reason where uh, Arsenal lose control of the game. So in the second half, if you're losing balls like that, and if you're holding on to a lead, I think that's where you struggle. That's something that you have to do over time, I think. Um, if Arsenal start well, that's good for Arsenal because they have a lead to defend, and they've defended really well also, even last season. But you want Arsenal to keep possession for much longer. I think 60s, 70s is what Arsenal should be aiming at with the system that they have, but I don't think they've really reached there. And I really think it's going to take some time before they get there. And I really hope it's this season that they can sustain pressing and control of the game for the whole game. And I'm not talking just about the top six. I'm talking about the smaller teams that Arsenal have to do that with. Because if you sustain that over the full 90 minutes against the smaller teams, then Arsenal can have the confidence to try to do that against the top six.
Hmm. Yep, yep. I mean, regardless of how what is happening in the second half now, we all, I think, have to appreciate what Arteta did to the club, as a club, as a manager, how he transformed Arsenal in a very short time. So, so Rohit, how much do you rate this transfer window? Do you think they did enough, or what else do you think they might have done in this window?
I think out of 10, there are some things that they missed out on, but they've done really well in terms of raising the floor and sort of the ceiling as well with Jesus. But I think there's still something they could have done. So I would say 8 on 10. I think where they miss out on is the fact that if Saka is injured, you have to rely on another young player at right wing. And most of these players are young, so I think they needed a goal scorer who can score about 20, 25 goals, a definite goal scorer. And I really hope Jesus does that as the main man at Arsenal. But from what we've seen at City, I don't think he is someone who has done that. I really hope he does that at Arsenal. And I I think I prefer that the goals are spread, but you really need that goal scorer um, who you can rely on in games where you struggle. And all the big teams have those players, and I don't think Arsenal have that. And with depth in CDM as well, they struggle, so they might go for someone in January. I think that's why I'm going for 8 on 10.
Yeah, I kind of agree. I think Gabriel Jesus was. We all know that he's a very good player, but he was always either in Aguero's shadow He was never the main striker, even though last season he could have been the main striker. But Guardiola played him on the right wing. Sometimes he played as striker. He contributed to the team, but he never had a 25 goal season. So, but maybe this time he's the first choice striker. He's in the starting 11 automatically. So we hope he can perform to that levels, right? Yeah.
Exactly, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Next, a club in crisis. Or will this season be the one where they rise as the phoenix from the ashes? They started the season with two losses in a row, and they continued that with four wins in a row. You never know what to expect from Manchester United. What do you think they needed to do at the start of the window, Sandy? And do you think they achieved that?
Hmm. Yeah, crisis. They just won four Premier League games in a row. Yeah, as you said, it has been a mix of emotions for me as a United fan, and I'm assuming it's the same for all the United fans in the transfer window. It has been a typical Indian masala movie, uh, where there were a lot of emotions involved, but. Speaking about United's transfer window, it was pretty clear from last season that the team needed some big changes, and they got Ten Hag, the new manager, before the end of last season. He was appointed before the end of last season, and it was actually a matter of time before they sign new players, before they get the new signings in. And to be fair with board and the management, the transfer window started well. I felt that they started well because of the clearance sale. I'll say, I mean, not disrespecting anyone, but they cleared a lot of dead wood in Matic, Mata, Pogba, Cavani, Lingard, Andres Pereira. They that helped the club in terms of wage bill. They didn't get much in terms of sales, but the wage structure was pretty cleared out. And and at the same time, they bought at the start of the transfer window, they immediately bought Tyrell Malaysia for the left back, and Christian Eriksen and Lisandro Martinez. All the three are starters now, and they are performing really well. And then I'll say came the frustrating portion of the transfer window, where they were behind one player, the player of the window, Frankie De Jong. And I think we can forget about United fans, but I mean, everyone who was involved in the transfer saga were frustrated about it. So, and I'll say we cannot blame the board completely, because uh, to be honest, Frankie De Jong would have been an amazing addition to the squad, because the current squad lacks the ball carrier. There is no ball carriers in the team. He would have been a really amazing addition, but yeah, but unfortunately, they were not able to sign him. And then came the bank, the end of the transfer window. I think it was because partially because of the reality that got stuck because of the two disastrous games that we had in the beginning of the season. Lost 4-0 to Brentford, and the board realized they need to spend some more money, and we got one of the world's best CDMs in Casemiro, and also spent a huge transfer amount, almost $100 million in Anthony. So jury is out on him. Anthony, he had a decent game against Arsenal. He scored one, but still needs to be proven in the Premier League. And about Casemiro, we all know about him, but it will be interesting to see how he performs with Bruno, Christian Eriksen, and McTominay, Fred, and not have Modric and Cruz with him. So it will be interesting to see how he performs. And to end it, last but not the least, we cleared some more first team players in who were searching for regular football. Henderson, the goalkeeper, uh, Eric Bai, centre back, and Ahmad Diallo, Alex Telles. Lot of first team squad, but they left the club. And they also got some money for selling James Garner, who at United they thought they has the potential to be in the first team squad this season, but maybe Ten Hag was not impressed with him, so they sold him. And last but not the least, they got Dubravka from Newcastle on loan as a backup for De Gea. So overall, I feel a lot of activity was in the transfer market. They needed they needed to do some work, but they needed to get in quality players, and they were in fact really busy, very busy, and they got some good additions to the squad.
Nice. I think one of the biggest sagas of the transfer window that you didn't mention was Ronaldo's will he go, won't he go, where is he going to go? The saga of him trying to search for a Champions League club. Do you think that now that he has to stay no matter what, do you think he'll go back to, and reach the heights that he reached last season? At least he scored 24 goals. Do you think he'll be able to do that again? Because with the new manager, will the manager be able to rely on him? Will he show his age? You know.
Mhm. He proved us wrong from so many years. So we never know what we can expect from Ronaldo. But I mean, at least on a consistent basis, he is always reliable for scoring goals. Right now, maybe because he didn't have a good preseason, he's a bit rusty. And he did not perform that well in the Europa League or the game that he started against Brentford. But he was okay against Arsenal when he came, and it was 1-1 and we won 3-1. So uh, yeah, it is difficult to say, but I will say he's 37, 38 now. So the age will catch up one time or the other, and we can't expect him to be a regular starting striker for any club. Leave Manchester United, but for any club, we can't expect him to be the only striker who is delivering all the goals, or who is the main talisman for the squad. uh, I feel those days uh, are gone now, and he can. But again, he can prove us all wrong by scoring a hat trick next week. So that is there. But again, on a consistency level and the way the Ten Hag wants to play, it is very difficult for him to adjust with that level of high expectations. So yeah, I love him. Every United fan loves him. So, and right now I think, yeah, because he didn't find any other club and he got stuck with United, I think he will be a very valuable member in the squad, where he can contribute goals in cup games, Europa League games, come on as a substitute in Premier League, and then deliver, and then see how it goes. So, but again, he's getting to the end of his career, so it is very difficult to say that he can be the main talisman for the squad. Mhm.
Yeah, I agree. And from there, I also want to move to the main problem that has been there for United, has been plaguing United for so many years. The McFred combo. From going to having Christian Eriksen there and losing Pogba, and Christian Eriksen has surprised a lot of people, even me. But he has been playing really well for United in that holding midfield role. How well do you rate his signing, his impact so far, and do you think? You know, Casemiro and McTominay and Chris Nixon, complement each other really well, and it should continue. Or do you think Casemiro should, come in and into the picture as well?
Mhm. I mean, as you said, the midfield was a problem, and was a problem for a long time, and uh, I think they should still figure out the starting lineup. But Casemiro is, which they just signed Casemiro. So, and he's getting used to the new country, new league. Although he has that much experience, so but I feel he will slowly get him into the starting level, and there is no need for urgency now because McTominay was performing really, really good in the last four games that they won. So, so yeah, Christian Eriksen, as you told, he surprised me as well. I thought he will struggle in that 4-2-3-1 formation, acting as a second midfielder. He has experience at Tottenham. He has done really well with Brentford last season too. In the second half of the season, he played in a similar role, controlling the play. So yeah. But I thought he might struggle, especially defensively. If you remember in Arsenal game, There was one, I think, a controversial VAR decision where he almost lost the ball. He lost the ball and Arsenal scored, but they had to track it back because they thought it was Odegaard fouled Eriksen.
Yeah,
But it is,
I felt it was a soft foul
yeah,
though.
it is a very short fall. Even I felt that. But positions like that, I think he will struggle. But again, he's surprising all of us. The way he played that game was amazing. The
Yeah,
contribution he did
agree.
for the goals was really good. The positions he's taking up. So yeah, there are pros and cons to for him playing that position, but I think right now pros are outweighing the cons. I'll say if he's making very minimal mistakes, and if he's avoiding to be in those type of positions where he has his back to to the goal, so then I think he will perform really well. And I feel with his experience, with his experience playing in Premier League, and and experience in general playing football, I think he will adapt to that role, and I think he'll be an amazing he's already an amazing addition to the squad, and he will contribute more once he fits in. Mm.
Yeah, yeah, totally agree. Yeah, amazing turnaround for him. He's an amazing human being as
Yeah.
well. The other thing I wanted to, ask about was you mentioned, Cristiano Ronaldo coming off the bench and or playing in the cup games. What do you think, as overall when you look at the squad? What's your best case scenario? You guys are playing in Europa League this season. Where do you think is the best case scenario for United? Is it winning the Europa League? Is it knockout stages? And what's your best case scenario for the top six, top four finish? Do you think United will make it?
I think with the amount of money spent, the expectation is to finish in a top four, uh, top four now, especially after Anthony and Casemiro. The first and primary responsibility will be Premier League. Try to finish in top four, because you never know what can happen in Europa League, because it's again just a knockout game where anything can happen. So you can't just depend on winning the Europa League to get into Champions League, but a club like United needs to be in Champions League. So that is the realistic expectation this season, and either achieving it either through winning Europa League, or focusing on the main priority, finishing the top four in the Premier League, is 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 an uh, I'll say realistic goal this season. Mm.
So you're saying that they should they should concentrate on winning the Europa League, or they should focus on top four. Like, um, I just wanted to know the best case like scenario.
I think it goes in both hand in hand, right? Because you have a good squad now, as a team, like you have very good squad too. You have a lot of players sitting, first team players sitting on the bench right now. So it goes. So we you can't just leave one competition out to concentrate on the other competition. uh, I think they will go all in for top four finish in the Premier League, but at the same time focus on Europa League, but focus on one game at a time. First priority is to qualify to the knockouts, and then go to the knockouts, play the knockouts game, and see where it goes. And from there, once you reach quarters, then you can think about winning the competition, or going far in
Got
the
it.
competition. Hmm.
Yeah, like take it game by game.
Yes. Hmm.
Understood.
Yeah, I agree with you. Your point that they have a really good depth in the squad. I think one of the craziest trivia is they have about 15 Champions Leagues on the bench, and the three players with five Champions League each, and none of them are starting. Do you think? Do you think that with the squad that he has, it helps Eric Ten Hag to um, adapt his play depending on the opposition? Do you think he'll be varying his tactics bit by bit? Because right now you see them more as a transitional team, right? Because most of the players are new. He's new. He's trying to get his imprint on the team. So, what do you think is the um, strategy for him to moving forward, how do you think he's going to play with the squad he has? Do you think he's going to attempt to play the way that his Ajax team played?
Yeah, I think it will be difficult for him to go directly, or at least for us to expect his team to play same like Ajax in the first season itself. And I'm guessing the strategy right now, at least against the big six, will be transitional play. I don't think United can dominate position against City, Liverpool, or even Arsenal in that case. Maybe Spurs. I think we have to see, but yeah, like at least against top six, it will be transitional play, and United are really good at it. We saw it against Liverpool, we saw it against Arsenal. You need just one chance to finish the games off or score goals. So uh, so I don't see him like switching drastically from that, because he tried that in the first two games and it did not work, and he realized that the good thing about him is he's changing quickly. He was very bold in taking the decision of benching the captain Harry Maguire, benching Luke Shaw, get in the new signings, start playing again. And uh, so yeah, it will be a combination, I feel. Maybe against low block teams, it will be difficult to break the deadlock, because United is more suited to transition play, and it will be very difficult to break small teams. And you saw that in Europa League against Real Sociedad. I'm not saying Real Sociedad is a small team, but they were a low block team and they were defending really good, and it was difficult to break them. So but yeah, get at this point, getting Ronaldo in, having the crosses in, might be a different way of playing against low block teams. But you have to see, it might be yeah, that is where I think United will struggle. They can get enough points against big six, at least at Old Trafford, but against low block teams they might lose points, which will be really critical in that top four race.
Yeah, I think I agree with what you said, because they are a new team with a new manager. That's what they would try to do, and they have the players to do that. And something from last season is that they scored one of the fewest goals in the teams with the fewest goals in the top eight, and they had the highest goals conceded in the top seven, I think. So
Mhm.
the goal difference was zero. So they both had to improve their defense and their attack. Do you think Ten Hag will be able to do that this season?
It depends. Yes, there was we all know that there was a need for the squad rebuild, and there was a need for a very big change in mentality of the squad when he took the job. I think he also knows that. And right now, with Lisandro Martinez and Varane starting, I feel there is that defensive stability. Tyrell Malaysia, the way he performed against Salah. I know it's too early to judge, but he is very good defensively. He's fast. He's very good in interpreting the plays and stopping the attacks. We didn't see much going forward, but at least on the defensive side, he's doing job better than Luke Shaw. So, and Dallo, at least after the Brentford game, something happened to him, and he's been performing really well too. So with De Gea and the back four solid now, and if they happen to stay fit, I think they have a really good chance in competing for the top four. And once you get the defensive stability in, I feel they have enough in attack. We still have to see a lot of Anthony. We still have to see a lot of Sancho. He didn't even start last season. He was on and off. So, and then Marcus Rashford coming back up, he's playing really well. And then Marshall as a number nine played really well in second half against Liverpool. And he they started his preseason was with Marshall, Rashford, and Sancho, and they were clicking together, as because all the three of them are very agile and can perform. So there is enough firepower, but maybe the team coordination might take some time. But yeah, as yeah, as you said, it is a lot of work to do, and they're doing it now. They won 4 games in a row, so we hope the momentum goes on. Mhm.
Yeah, I think it's exciting times for the Premier League because with Ten Hag and uh, Graham Potter and with the managers that were already there at Liverpool, City, Arsenal, and Tottenham, you can expect them to play really well and hopefully dominate the European competitions because any of the two teams that will miss out on the Champions League will be hard dealt with it, you know. But with United, I think it's something that they've been looking forward to for a long time. They've had, uh, I wouldn't say bad managers, but something that they couldn't get behind in terms of play, at least. Um,
Mhm.
but with Ten Hag, I think that's something that they can be excited about. With this transfer window ended, do you think? What do you think is their? How would you rate their transfer window?
Yeah, if you had asked me the same question during the middle of the transfer window, I would have said one or two. But but after Casemiro and Anthony, I think there is this new energy in the squad, and we. It has been a very good transfer window. I think I, I'm inclined to rate almost 8 out of 10 because of the new additions, especially, and the way Lisandro Martinez adapted to the team, and Christian Eriksen too. Both of them, the way they adapted, you get that confidence that the team can handle difficult situations, and they are doing it pretty well now. And they still have like lot of things to do. They still have lot of things to fix, but the experience that comes in with Christian Eriksen, and the energy, I'll say energy in terms of we lacked that type of defender. I think the last one was Vidic, and after that we didn't have any aggressive defenders. And yeah, Lisandro Martinez nicknamed the Butcher of Amsterdam, so you can expect him to be very energetic, very
Aggressive.
aggressive. Yes, exactly. So yes, I'll say 8 out of 10, especially because of the way the new signings are performing, and I'm excited uh, to see Anthony. He can be there is that talisman. The big man position is empty at Old Trafford, so anyone, the crown is empty. Anyone can take it, and Anthony has all the skill sets, but he needs. We need to see him perform on a regular basis. Mhm.
Yeah, I think it's a very good transfer window that they've had, and probably you're right that you're expecting them to do well. But looking at just the transfer window, 8 on 10 is, I think, very good. All right, so we're going to get this out sometime in the next few days. Thanks for joining us. Hope your team wins this week, whoever you're supporting, unless, of course, they're playing Arsenal. Please subscribe, follow us. You'll find us on most of the social media sites with the handle Chai and Busquets. See you guys next time.
See
See
you.
ya.